A calm before the storm. Just the perfect phrase to characterize the situation, as something is simultaneously brewing in the south and in the east, and the result may be very surprising. A failed attempt of Russians to distract Ukrainians, which potentially can cause them losing in this war. And Battle Babushkas, who once again demonstrate us the expertise in international diplomacy. But more about all of this in a couple of minutes. What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. And as always, let's begin with the brief overview of the map of this war. First of all, we have this video from Brylivka, where you can see that Ukrainians were able to destroy the military vehicles and military warehouse of Russians. And then, if we go a little bit to the north of this city, we can see another military warehouse and military headquarters of Russians being destroyed in Novokakhovka. But unfortunately, Russians do not stop their attacks against civilian objects in Mykolaiv. And as you can see from this video, Mykolaiv was under attack earlier these days, and it is estimated that these missiles came from Hola Pristan. And unfortunately, as a result of these attacks, a supermarket in Mykolaiv was destroyed. And before we talk about Russians for some reason shelling distant areas in Ukraine, here is your quick update about Antonovsky Bridge and overall situation in Kherson region. If you remember, over the course of past few weeks, Ukrainians were able to severely damage this bridge. And I mean, the bridge has not collapsed yet, but even Russians themselves acknowledged that vehicles are no longer able to use it. But recently, Russians have been spotted installing these pyramid glass deflectors, which theoretically should prevent the bridge from being attacked by heat-seeking missiles. These are the same deflectors that have been spotted next to Crimean Bridge as well. But here is the catch: these deflectors are completely useless from GPS missiles, which hysterically Ukraine uses. But anyways, the success of Ukrainians in Kherson region still goes on. And according to the Ukrainian representative of this region, Dmitry Butry, last week Ukrainian army was able to liberate 46 villages, towns and cities. And as of this week, this number increased to 53. And at the same time, we also have the statement by a Russian infiltrator in this region, Kirill Stremausov, who looks like he's just tired of truth being thrown in his face. And so, apparently what he said, while most likely being in the middle of hysteria, he said that Kherson belonging to Ukraine was a historic mistake, which once again confirms the fact that Russian infiltrators in Ukraine do not know even the basic history. Because historically, Kherson region was one of the very first territories that belonged to Ukraine, and these ports were used to trade with Turkey. So basically the statement of Kirill Stremausov is pretty ridiculous, because at the time when Ukrainians were already trading from Kherson region, Russia, as you know it right now, basically was non-existent yet. Alright, and now, as promised, before talking about the ever-changing situation in the east, let's quickly talk about the Russians shelling distant areas in Ukraine. First of all, over the last couple of days, Russians launched couple missiles against Vinnytsia region. And fortunately, both of them were intercepted. Russians then also launched several missiles against Lviv region. And while most of them were intercepted, unfortunately, one of these missiles reached Chervonograd. Alright, and now let's talk about the east, which once again became extremely important. And before I show you the current condition of cities of Severodonetsk and Mariupol, please consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel if you like this style of daily updating. Alright, so first of all, unfortunately, I think it is worth showing you the current condition of Mariupol and Severodonetsk after they've been successfully liberated by Russia. In this video, we can see how Mariupol looks at this very moment, and the city is practically destroyed. And in this video, we can see the condition of Severodonetsk, which, if you remember, just a couple of months ago, Russians took so much effort to, for some reason, liberate this city and turn it into this. And according to the advisor to the president of Ukraine, Alexei Arestovich, there are currently two hottest spots in the east of Ukraine. The first one of them is located to the southeast of Bakhmut. And as you can see, during the last couple of days, Russians were able to advance in this area. It is assumed that this was possible because two different groups of Russian soldiers from the east and west of this reservoir were able to join their forces. And most likely, their next target will be the city of Bakhmut. And the second hottest area at this very moment is to the west of Donetsk. As you can see, for the last couple of days, Russians were doing their best to advance close to Pisky village. At this very moment, the area to the east of this village is still contested and the battles go on. But according to Arestovich himself, Ukrainians were able to send a little bit of reinforcements from the south to help them keep the ground. It has also been reported that Russians resumed their attempts to advance next to Seversk and Slavyansk, but so far these attempts are unsuccessful. And before I tell you something pretty funny about Ramzan Kadyrov, here is a very controversial but potentially genius statement from Donetsk. If you remember, in the beginning of this week, the Vice Prime Minister of Ukraine Irina Vereshchuk and the President of Ukraine Vladimir Zelensky, they urged the civilians to evacuate from Donetsk region. And as of today, the government of Ukraine has made this evacuation to be mandatory. People will be relocated to distant regions, mostly to the west of Ukraine. And the reason why this thing might potentially be a genius one is the following. It does look like, unfortunately, that Russians are getting back their advantage in the east. But just if you remember from the very beginning, it does look like a calm before the perfect storm. Yes, at this very moment, Russians do advance in the east, but I'm pretty positive that the cost for this advancement is extremely high. And in the meantime, Ukrainians are trying to hold their ground and destroy the military objects in the back. What it means is that eventually the advancement of Russians will inevitably exhaust, and this is when Ukraine can launch its counteroffensive in the east. Because remember that Russians technically they have limited resources, and every time they lose some military vehicle, most likely it is lost forever. But at the same time, Ukraine is constantly being infused by the weapons and military vehicles from the west. And so, what does this whole evacuation from Donetsk means? And I guess you already probably guessed it. As soon as the Russian advancement in the east slows down, and as soon as Ukraine has enough weapon and manpower in this region, this is when the counteroffensive, in my opinion, will start. And when this counteroffensive starts, they do not want civilians to be living in these areas, so that they can maximize the potential of their weapons and have intense fighting. Because as President Zelensky said himself, focus on retaking back territories now, and we will always have time in the future to rebuild our cities. Alright, and now as promised, really quick, this funny thing about Ramzan Kadyrov. Because today, the president of Chechnya has been awarded the Hero of People's Republic of Lugansk. And in return, Ramzan Kadyrov awarded the head of Lugansk region, Leonid Pasechnik, with the Medal of Kadyrov. So it basically looked something as following. Here you go, Ramzan, here is your medal, you're now hero of our region. And then Ramzan Kadyrov was like, wow, such a nice medal. By the way, here is your medal of me, medal of Kadyrov. And I also want to congratulate you for doing nothing, because you just congratulated me for doing absolutely nothing. And while potentially this might be complete nonsense, if you think about this might be the attempt of Vladimir Putin to keep Ramzan Kadyrov as close as possible. Because approximately last week, President Putin himself awarded Kadyrov with the medal of Alexander Nevsky. Immediately after that, Ramzan Kadyrov made a statement that Putin is literally a cool guy, and everything that he has right now is thanks to Putin. Which once again confirms the fact, if you remember my episode from a couple of weeks ago, is that most likely Russia is paying Chechnya to be its friend. Alright, before we talk about this failed attempt of Russians to distract the attention of Ukrainians, and this failed attempt basically can cost Russians the entire war, here are a couple words about Kharkov region. First of all, in this video we can see several explosions in the outskirts of Kharkov, and most likely these missiles came from Belgorod. And at the same time, in this video we can see the retribution of Ukrainians. Right here we can see Azov soldiers using artillery guns to destroy the military vehicles of Russians. Unfortunately, no significant advancements of Russians are happening in this region, but we cannot ignore the importance of this territory. Alright, and now let's talk about the failed attempt of Russians to distract Ukrainians. According to the intelligence data presented to us by Alexei Arestovich, the real reason why Russians are focusing on the east so much is not because they want to capture Luhansk and Donetsk. According to him, this is just a distraction so that Ukrainians will send reinforcements from the south. And as soon as number of Ukrainians decreases in the south, this is when Russians will start counterattacking in this region. Arestovich then added that Ukraine pretty quickly discovered this bluff. And as a result of this failed attempt, this is exactly how Russia can lose in this war. First of all, right now Russia is employing the significant part of its forces in the east to create this illusion. And in the meantime, they are also slowly relocating some of its forces to the south, which basically separates the Russian army in two parts. And at the same time, Ukrainians hold their ground in the east and they do not believe in Russian bluff, which basically means that this effort by Russians is basically pointless, and every single day they become weaker and weaker. And in the meantime, Ukraine takes its time to reinforce its southern positions. So whenever Russia decides to start its offensive in the south, it will be completely shattered. And in the end, this can potentially lead to the almost total destruction of the southern part of Russian army. And those Russians remaining in the east will be exhausted from performing these fake attacks. And this is exactly when it is estimated that Ukraine will be at its full power, infused by Western weapons, and then they will finalize this war by liberating the east. And if you don't want to miss the turning point in this war, please consider joining my Discord, because this is the place where I'll announce it as soon as I hear it myself. And at the same time, we as a community constantly donate money to Ukraine. And if you want to be a part of this group donation, please make sure to check my Patreon. All the links can be found down below. Welcome to another episode of Ridiculous Russian Propaganda, and today once again we have Battle Babushkas. So what basically happens is that they demonstrate their exceptional PhD level knowledge in international politics, and they criticize the visit of Nancy Pelosi to Taiwan. Their narrative starts something like this: "Come on, Nancy Pelosi, are you stupid? You're already old. You just need to be at home and do nothing. You should already retire." But instead, you just travel around the world and create this instability. Everyone already hates America and you are just making it worse. Then they also say that they're completely certain that the only reason Nancy Pelosi went to Taiwan is so that China and Taiwan will start fighting once again. And that this was completely shameless move by Nancy Pelosi herself, because even America said to her, "Don't go, just stay at home. What are you doing, old lady?" To sum up, this Battle Babushka says that Nancy Pelosi should have stayed at home, retired from politics, and become just regular babushka. Which, according to this video, most likely means just watching TV propaganda every single day, complain, and criticize other countries, especially America. And if you stayed all the way until this moment, you're a true hero. And if you want to support my work, please consider becoming my channel member. Thank you so much for your attention, check the links down below, stay safe, and see you tomorrow.